Welcome to the Native Wellness Institute Power Hour Healing Through Song. I'm here with the beautiful Calina Lawrence. Shout out to the Noise Foundation and NICWA for funding these power hours and making all of this possible. There have been incredible speakers and singers and poets and community leaders that have been a part of this. So I'm really happy to be here today with you all. And we're both part of the Indigenous 20-something project, which is, oh, she got this shirt.
Yeah.
There you go, represent. The Indigenous 20-something project is a movement created to end the toxic impacts of intergenerational trauma. And so we're just two people from a big team of amazing people. And today we will be addressing healing and song, and really how do our music ways impact us in a healthy way, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And so these power hours happen every day at the same time at noon. So tune in, check out the ones that we did before. We're missing our partner in crime, Kahara, and we're sending lots of love and good thoughts to her and her family.
Love you, Kahara.
We miss you. And so with that, I think we'll go ahead and get started. So Calina, do you want to intro yourself, and then I'll do one, and then we'll jump right in.
Calina Lawrence Seedsta, Calina Lawrence Seedsta, Soquab Shed, Us Joe Il Ched, Us Walach Ched, Shlualach Ched, Tol All Chaduf Sukwab, Tol All Chaduf Sukwab, Tsegui Biti Native Wellness Institute. My name is Calina Lawrence. I am Suquamish. I come from Suquamish, from the place of the clear salt water. And I am just so grateful. I feel very happy today. As Joe Ilchud, I am happy, full of joy. I'm well. And I'm speaking in the ancestral language of my lands. And this is known as the Twilshutzid language in general, but we are, as I'm learning, we are Sokwab Shutzid speaking peoples. And I'm very excited to continue learning, especially during quarantine. I'm actually gonna start an online Lushutu class through the Puyallup language department, and so I just signed up for that yesterday. So I'm like, oh, I'm ready for more. Lifelong student of so many different, what I would say, academies, I guess, but yeah, I'm just very grateful. Thank you to the Native Wellness Institute and the Noise Foundation and NICWA. Actually, I am a, I don't know what label I would give my survivor of the Indian Child Welfare Act. I spent 15 years of my life through this act that's initiated to keep our young people in our communities with our families when our parents are struggling and need more support. So thanks to everyone for making this possible. I also really want to shout out my girl Shailene for just being so consistent with this every single day for the last month and a half. And hi Jordan, and love you, Kahara. Hope to see you again soon, sis.
Awesome. De onde, friends and relatives, and malolele. So my name is Jordan Cocker, and I am Goegu, Kiowa from Oklahoma. My family are Paddletee and Toibo families, and we're from the Redstone and Rainy Mountain region of the Kiowa Comanche Apache Reservation here in Oklahoma. But one of my clans actually originated in Montana, so we would come back and forth before the reservation. So I think that's always important to add. My dad's side, we're Tongan from the Filifakataha Tupo Fa line. And so I'm a Goka from Vava'u. My grandpa's David Cocker, and my nana's side were Hanson. So from Vava'u. Tongatapu is the Cockers. And we are, we've been in New Zealand for 2 generations on that side of my family. And so during all of this, like, COVID period, I've been really thinking about my family in these 2 different places in the world, and also really just kind of mindful of that geography and how to kind of connect in this space between, whether that's digitally or over the phone. And so those are my families, and I'm really happy to be here today. I love the Native Wellness Institute and the Indigenous 20 something project. Just too many good memories to even. I can't even. But I'm really thankful to be invited on here to share some songs and some music with Calina, and thinking about Kahara. She's not with us today, and just sending her and Martin and the whole family good vibes and lots of love. And so today we're talking about song and music, and sharing a little bit about what we know, what we've been taught, and hopefully impacting everybody at home and those people watching in a good way. Always with the intention to kind of lift people's spirits, whether that's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And so we can just pass it back and forth, like pass the mic. But I'll go ahead and start us off. I want to share a song that I learned from my partner, Chris Cote, who is Osage, and I sang it last session, and I want to sing it again.
Yes.
So I brought in my backup singer slash no, the real deal here. So do you want to come over here and we'll sing? So this is Chris. He's gonna jump on, kind of shuffle over.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Do you want to say anything about the song before we start?
Että lekonsia haare reaga lepetaha le walo anki lepetaha että unika shikazani pade ana kondanka että lekonsia haare le unika shikazani wakpade anga khau että lekonsia haare unika shikare wakande na ikina shitsalo että de wallon that we bach hello että lekonseahalle valondet iet he bache että wakanda gana valaksilla ab ekunta sheep she ali hello että ikinashit hello wakanda kidamba ikinashit hello että de iet se bache että wakanda ena wakanta ena hatkanta de ujanke watek malimpio da daakit wakanda ena wakanda kidamba ga a little bit of say. Jordan asked me to come sing the song with her, and I thought of these words a while back. Come through an interesting time in my life, and the words say, "Only, only God, the Creator, the Great Mystery, can renew all things for us," and that. And I said, and it's been said that's the way it is, and I'm saying it now. And look to that Wakanda, this great mystery, and that's the life being forced between all things. And so look towards that, and rely on that iki naji, Ikinashitaro. We rely on that. So so det conseil det dato bracket se kiamana. Ay 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 Wakanda kidamba ikina shitsalo. Hey 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 hey. Hey 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 hey. Wakanda Gidamba Ikina Shitsalo. Hey, oh, yeah. Wakanda Gidamba Shitsalo. Ali hello. Wakanda Gidamba Ikina Shitsalo. Hey, hey, oh, hey.
That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you very much, Chris. That's so cool.
Yeah.
We like singing that together. We sing a lot in our house. Chris is a language teacher for the Osage Nation, and songs are just one of those ways that we really kind of pray together and express together. So wanted to share that song with you and sing it again with the with the composer.
I love being able to hear it with just your voice, and then I also really love hearing it with both of you together, and just like how each like version is just like, well, it just hits like in their own ways, you know. Like I really love the balance of both of your voices. You sound so good, and you look good together too. You sound great together.
Hey, on that note, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for
Agleho.
all right, Chris out.
I love the language, like just whew, always gets me.
It's such a good tool. There's so much language stored in those songs, and I feel like it's such a strength to be able to grow up with people or to meet people later in life who can teach those songs, because the phrases in there, the words in there, even kind of getting your head around that speech has been like so helpful for me in learning my Kiowa language, and you know, sharing that is also really like, I think, impactful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's such a kinesthetic way to learn too, right? Like singing and melody, and like it's just a different way to learn the language that, you know, resonates differently with people. But it also really speaks to how so many of our cultures are like oral based, right? And we're like, this is how so many of our life teachings have been passed on, is through storytelling and song, because of the memory that stores in our bodies. I'm really glad that you brought him to join us. That was really, really great. And I wanted to share a song too that typically has a male voice, that bass, that deep voice, and then different versions of our tones, you know, on the other end of the scale, I guess you would call it. And this one is by Junior. A lot of us know him as Scooty James, and we actually just put out a collaboration video. Was it yesterday or the day before? 2 days ago? It was time. I don't know time, but it was really beautiful, and it was such a cool way to collaborate through technology in these times. And a lot of us are missing the gathering element of singing together. Like, for those of us who our musics are so social, and we're used to having like 20 to anywhere from 20 to 100 people all together, to kind of reducing that down has definitely been a journey throughout quarantine. But it felt really, really good for my spirit to be able to sing that paddle song with Scootsy. So if you guys wanted to go check that out, it's on my Facebook artist page, it's on his Facebook, and it's on my Instagram. But I wanted to share another paddle song by Scootsy that is called One Speed, and to me it just really serves as a metaphor for what we're going through, right? And just the teachings of being in the canoe in general, getting to this collective destination, and how we rely so much on one another to keep that synchronicity, keep pace, pull stronger, pull smarter, and take turns, take shifts, and and also the individual growth that happens when we're traveling by canoe, and traveling with our ancestors. And paddle songs have definitely gotten me through everything in my life since I was introduced to them at 7 years old. And I think one thing to mention too is, like, I think I'm finally grieving this idea that Canoe Journeys is not going to happen this year. Something that, because of the really hard work of our ancestors, I've known Canoe Journeys my whole life. I've known them every summer. And so this is a transition for so many of us up in the Northwest Territory to know, like, this celebration, this honoring, this ceremony is on standby until we as humans can get this scenario, this very, very significant crisis under control. So paddle songs are in my DNA, and also just really helped me through. So this one is by Scootsy. It's called One Speed. away, away. So just picture just Poland, singing Poland. Um, that one just has got me through. And I really wanted to mention as well that I've been blessed to sing that particular song in many different parts of Mother Earth. I was first and foremost really blessed to be able to share at Mauna Kea as an offering when I visited their sacred mountain of the Kanaka Maoli people. I also sang that song when I was visiting Standing Rock, the Standing Rock Sioux relatives in their continued fight to protect their sacred water and the Minuchoni movement started by the youth and the elders and the women of Standing Rock. I've been able to sing that song in the Wurundjeri territory of our relatives down south in what we call Australia. And so I've really been grateful to travel and be able to share the paddle songs from the Northwest with so many of our relatives globally. So it's really important for me to be able to say that, you know, we've been standing in solidarity with so many across the globe right now.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to go on canoe journey as a guest of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde the year before
Yes.
last. And that was a really beautiful experience, and I felt so fortunate to just experience that kind of abundant way of being, and those ways that are being brought back and have been brought back by some amazing people, and I could totally hear it. I could
Yeah.
totally hear the stroking of the blades in the water of the paddle, and so that was really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course.
And then of course I did some waka ama, which is Pacifica style canoe, but it has like a ama, so like a little outrigger on the side of it. When I was going to university in New Zealand, spending time with my dad's family. And so it's amazing, you know, in times like these, of these unprecedented times where there's so much changing and so much shifting in our world and in our societies, to have that blood memory activated and to really bear down on what it is that that lives on within us. And I think I've thought actually a lot about people in my lineage who live through similar circumstances to what we're experiencing right now. So, you know, great grandparents who were born over 100 years ago, and I've been thinking about, you know, their life and their legacies, and also just about how they did what they did, and those ways, and a lot of the music that comes with that as well. So this next song I'm gonna share is a Kaiwa hymn. So it's composed by Gaudi Baon, who was one of the first kind of Christian converts in the Kiowa tribe. I was named after his little sister, and that name she is related. So I got that name when I became a woman. I was about 15 years old, and that was given to me by my grandpa George Talbone. Well, gifted in ceremony, is actually given to me by my late grandma Christina Hunt Simmons, and so. Just thinking about those people and what they endured and what they experienced, and about their grit and tenacity, but also about their humor and about those beautiful things that they passed on to generations after them that kept us as people, strong, resilient, Kiowa, Indigenous. And so this song is, like I said, it was a Christian song that was composed by Godi Baon after he converted, and he is on my Toy side of my family, and it was also sung at Redstone Baptist Church. So, and a lot of these songs, like I said earlier in this session, have so much language packed in there, and it's been such a good tool for me to hear these songs sung by relatives growing up, and then to really that really helps out my language learning today and retention, and it's like, oh, that's what that means, and I can kind of think back and like correlate different phrases or words or even ideas to that's embedded inside the music. And so that's one of those beautiful gifts. And so I'll go ahead and sing this song. It goes. Actually, I'm going to take a sip of water first. Gotta hydrate.
All that water. Quo in our language.
Jesus ane apokipon soikya. Jesus ane apokipon soikya. Day by not sai komi. Day by not sai komi. Onka onko ipedo apadon se. Day by dawn sai komi. Day by dawn sai komi. Onka onko ipedo apadon se. Jesus ane apokipon soikya. Jesus ane apokipon soikya. Day by night sai komi. Day by night sai komi. Onka onko ipedo apadon se. Day by night sai komi. Day by night sai komi. Onka onko ipedo apadon se. And there's a second part that is kind of like a harmony that I usually sing with my sister. So I'm going to sing that. And then you put the two together.
Yes.
So that second part goes, Jesus ane apokipon soikya. Jesus ane apokipon soikya. Day by dawn sai komi. Day by dawn sai komi. Onka onko ipedo apadon se. And so that song repeats. And it sounds really lovely with my little sister Aita. She hits those high notes super good. But I wanted to share that song because, regardless of religion, these songs were created by incredible, incredible men and women who survived what is part of the darkest part of our history as Kiowa people. And it's been a blessing in my life to be able to access their way of seeing the world through these songs. And it reminds me, there's so much memory. It reminds me of being in the out there at Rainy Mountain, and of some funerals, but also some really fun Sundays, like Easter's or celebrations, Christmas time, when these hymns will be sung. It would just be like a choir of elders. There's some strong voices who I was blessed to hear sing this song and kind of really sing it with all of their heart, who've walked on. And one of my favorite singers was my grandpa Luke Toibo, and so, just thinking about all of these people and my lineage, and thinking, how can I retain or store that knowledge, whether it's just a song or things that people said in a good way, and how much I'm gonna like nerd out right now.
Go for
like
it.
how much data and
Yeah.
information is stored in those verses.
Yeah.
And these are just sort of the thoughts that I've had especially over the past month, just with some of the impacts have uh, affected a family and tribe. That knowledge and that information has just been like right at the fore of some of my thinking, and so I wanted to share that today. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank
thank you.
you. I appreciate the I really appreciate the context. I really love when anybody who's singing shares about where this came from and why. That's protocol in so many of our cultures, and I think that it just provides a deeper connection to the song when like us as the audience can have that information. And so I really love that about the depth in which you share, both prior to and after that song and other songs that you share, because it's information. It's a bridge to empathy for us, and it gives us an idea of what's going on in society around us when these melodies are coming to us and when they're being shared with the world. It's so much more than just a song. That information is there, and I think one of those goals that we have as song carriers and song receivers, and then when we share it out, is just doing our best to you know just reflect everything around us. And that's a quote that Nina Simone has been really well known for, is the job of the artist is to reflect the times. And in so many of our cultures, we have done that forever. So it's really awesome. And uh, you know, I think that while we are embracing and learning that in our history and or herstory, or however we want to categorize that, we're able to do that now too, right? There's so many artists who are making songs about the pandemic, about quarantine, about this transition, and just speaking out loud what we're going through, and contextualizing it in their mind and putting it out for those of us who are like, okay, this is where we at. This is new territory for many of us, not all of us, but I think my goal as a musician, as well as a contemporary artist, and also as someone who was raised to learn about all of the information before we were even here, is to tell stories and to share about my story. So I wanted to share a song, and also in honor and respect to Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And I know that different cultures prefer different titles, and it's unfortunate that colonialism has like conditioned us to lump all of these peoples together in this way. But I also just really want to acknowledge both the contributions of API people to the world, and also really stand in love at this time, because there is a lot of racism and hate being generated towards um, very specific demographics at this time. And I think that we can combat that through music and through so many things. So shout out to, API folks, but also, in particular to Filipinx communities and Indopinx communities. There's a really large Filipino and indigenous community in Washington State, and they go by Indopino. And one of my foster homes was actually a Filipinx family, Indopinx family, and um, I am trying to use music, right, to document my personal story and what I've been going through. And the Mima grandma of the family's favorite song was "Walking" by Patsy Cline, and in honor of hip hop and love for hip hop, I had my friend Sejo help me create this beat that sampled Patsy Cline, so that I could just send love to this Indopino family that took me in as a foster youth in Suquamish and helped me through some really tough teenage years. So I wanted to share that with y'all and just a lot of love across the board for different reasons, but also just like you said, finding ways to sing about what it is that we're going through at different points of our lives. And it's nothing new. I mean, we've been doing it. We're just adapting with the times. So this is unreleased. It's just a verse that I have been working on, especially with my writing. So yeah, this is Walking. Oh, I missed it. Okay, I gotta go back. My bad. Okay, here we go. Can you hear it? Is it good? Okay, cool. I love to see our Filipinx relatives on the rise. Determination through generations of sacrifice. So ripe, the berries who married partnerships for life with no hesitation to assist the Japanese in crisis. From reservations to the fields, you planted seeds. Amongst violation, revealed your humanity. And one day your family, known for hospitality, opened doors thankfully to a young me just out walking, seeking refuge. I was walking, nothing inside. Now I'm rooted and I'm standing for your rights, for your fight. Midnight, out in the moonlight, just like we used to do. I'm always walking after midnight, searching for you. And that one is really special because it kind of talks a little bit about the story of how these cultures came together, right? When Filipino men were coming over to the States and women were not allowed to come with them, then they were hiring indigenous women to help tend to the strawberry fields with them. And then they started falling in love and making beautiful Indopino babies. And now, I know there's also a Indopino community in California as well, but I just, I try to use music and writing, whether in English or whether in Lashutseed, to talk about, the significant moments in my life that I think are worthy of being documented. And that's one that came about because of the disenrollment epidemic that's also happening in our communities, and this a further tactic of genocide and attacking our identity and how we identify and who determines our identity. The Nooksack 306 who battled disenrollment for so long were just really standing strong together, and I was trying to find ways, to contribute and say, wow, you guys took me in when I really needed shelter and I needed stability and I needed safety. And as an adult being able to give back and say what this injustice that's happening to you is something that's close to my heart. And so just a little bit about that and me trying to figure out my strengths as a writer, and how are we continuing this tradition, right, of creating these songs in certain times to commemorate significant life events. So
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I was like, oh, this beat is so good. It's very like, there's so many. I don't know if you listen to a lot of like Tongan fusion kind of remix mixes, but they're all about that beat drop.
Yes.
And I love that song. That's like one of my mom's favorite songs. And
Yeah.
the vibes were I'm so excited for you to drop that.
Yay.
That was really enjoyable. I was
Thank
like,
you.
tight.
Sorry for the sound too. I'm still getting it through.
It
We're
was
coming
awesome. It was awesome. So beautiful.
Yay.
And I love the way that you talk about community as well, and community kind of history and formation. And it's such a gift to be able to kind of share those like intimate knowledge kind of parts of yourself. You talked about being a youth, and I think our, especially like I'm I'm not necessarily a youth, but I once was. Like hearing that honesty and vulnerability from people like yourself is so valuable, because it allows people to kind of think about themselves in a way that might be new, or kind of exploratory ways. And so that was really lovely. So thank you. Thank you so much, Calina Lawrence, y'all. And so, yeah, I just kind of wanted to also, I guess, share whenever, like I said, whenever somebody gives of themselves in a certain way, it invites others to think about themselves. And when you're talking about kind of diaspora communities and community kind of like coming together and convergence, and building new communities in your home, it's definitely relatable. Being Tongan and Kiowa at the same time, a lot of people, they're like, what, like they can't really can imagine that. But thinking about having these homes in two places, and really being able to kind of walk in beauty with those lineages, and also those genealogies, and the land itself and the waterways is so powerful. And there's so much dignity there when you are able to kind of understand yourself through your ancestors, and also the things they did and why they did them. And I've learned a lot from my grandpa's sisters, and of course my grandpa. But I have this my late great auntie Lucy. She was just like a powerhouse, and she lived within that kind of context of herself across oceans, across societies, and of course the Cocker name is actually from an English person who didn't stay in the boat either. And so, when you have that strength of story, it really, I feel like, gives you this level of kind of like dignity, and also kind of like ancestral power that is so restorative. And so thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
So the next song that I have is a song that my mom used to sing. So she was raised by her grandparents in Anadarko, Oklahoma. And there's this roundy that she learned, I want to say, from my grandpa Carlos. And it was written in World War II. He didn't compose it, but he, I guess, sang it. And she sang it a lot to me, just to kind of in her big repository of like lullabies and songs to sing like on road trips and stuff. And It's kind of cheeky. It's so it's in English too. So I'm gonna go ahead and share that song now. And I don't I'm just gonna kind of tap with my hand. There's a drum that's supposed to go with it, but
yeah.
Hey 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 oh hi yeah hey oh hi hey oh yeah hey oh hi yeah hi yeah. Oh my dearest, I am far away from you. As I sit alone tonight, I am thinking of you. Hi. If I don't come back, just remember I still love you. Hi. Yeah, hi. And if I do come back, I will bring you pretty roses. Hi. I don't have the courage to sing it again.
Oh, I love it.
But
yes.
yeah, that was one of my mom's favorite roundies. I do not sing that for people, but last session, Kahara whipped out this super cheeky song that was about like Dr. Pepper, and I was like, okay.
You gotta respond to that one.
Yeah, but I mean it, again, like thinking about people who have gone before. I did get to meet my grandpa Carlos for some years when I was a girl, and spend time with him. And he was a World War II vet. He liberated Nazi camps during his service overseas, and I, I feel like that song, like I said, it's cheeky, but at the same time, it was part of that time when our people and our community members were participating in these big world life events, and they created songs, creative music that made meaning of that, and coped, but also like I said, just kind of created meaning out of something that's totally brand new. And so I'm not a recording artist, but I do sing. My family sings. I've been asked to sing a lot in my life, and just kind of raised as in a way of like, if you're asked, go on up there and sing. And so, but I wanted to share that song just because a lot of my family is living overseas in New Zealand right now, and that aching, if I don't come back, if I do come back. And bringing roses, I think I understand that in a new way with this pandemic, and it's suddenly very real. Something that I used to be like, oh, that's such a cute song, is like, dang, how must have it felt? I have a little bit of idea of how it feels to be away from the people that you love, safe in a way, but still, that distance, and so I wanted to share that song.
Thank you so much. I love roundies. I definitely had like little eras in my life where all I listened to were roundies on YouTube, and it's like how I don't know, how do we take things that are so heavy and like package them in these like melodies that are just like, oh, so joyful, but like, whoa, that's like, whoa. I feel like there's so many ways to access feeling and emotion and say so much with so little, right? Like just the words, like how, like the action of bringing flowers, but like why, and in that context, like it's just an aha moment where you're like, oh dang. So I really want to say, like, shout out to your grandparents, because they were dope. And also, like, I really love their influence on you, and I love how much you represent them, and I think that you do a really great job at that. And it kind of ties a little bit of a segue into this next portion that I want to share as well, and like being raised by our grandparents, right? And like there's such this moment in growth and transition between these different like periods in our lives where it's like, well, my grandma used to say that and I never really got it. Now I get it. Like I totally get it. Like those moments. And I definitely have a lot of those. And my grandma was one of many who helped raise me as well. And she just had all these little gems that I'm really glad I can appreciate now. And as I continue to stand in my truth and my story and all of these different people at play, I think a lot about my parents every single day right now, and I didn't get to spend my first 18 years of my life with them, but at the age of 18, like making that decision as an adult of what type of what do I want my story to be with them? How do I want that story to continue to be written? And we have been growing and healing ever since. But my dad has been an alcoholic for since he was 12 years old, and he is turning 70 this year. So a lifetime, and a lifetime of trauma as well, that many of us can relate to. And then I've been thinking of my dad during this time. We talk on the phone every day, and I talk to my mom every few days. And thinking of those of you out there who have been staying strong in your sobriety and in your recovery during this time. I just want to give a lot of love to you. And my dad is 15 months sober this month, which is the longest in his life since he very first started drinking, and that's a big deal. And I wanted to share a poem, a spoken word poem that I wrote prior to his sobriety, and then I also want to share a song that I wrote on his 30-day sober date. So again, like showing that we're turning to music in so many ways, and expression as we navigate this life that we're living, and how all of our truths can all exist at once, and how it can help us process and choose the way we want our stories to go, because there is a level of autonomy in that way, and there is a lot that's out of our control. But for me personally, I'm really glad I chose to forgive my parents, and I'm really glad that I've been able to heal with them. So the first one is on my album. It's called Epicenter, and it, it's a little heavy. So I do want to offer a trigger warning to anyone out there who is listening. But I am 27 years old, and I have never drank alcohol before. It is a decision that has been informed by a lot of experiences, and this poem will share a little bit of that. And then afterwards, I'll go into this verse that I wrote for my dad. So the poem is about him and me, and then the verse after is for him. And this is how it goes. Curious 3-year-old indigenous eyes, legs wrapped around the waist of my strung out mom when I saw his back staggering up the hill out of our driveway, and that was it. He was drunk then. Nothing could heal him, not even his children. 8-year-old hands clean the house of yet another foster home, thrust the beer cans to the bottom of the wastebasket, followed by my tears. Their drunk may have been casually innocent, but each release from my grasp reminded me that his was blatant repetition. It took me back to the day he walked away. 13-year-old heart arrhythmic when my first love cheated and alcohol made the threesome complete. He was gulping away his adolescence in exchange for my already tainted trust. Took me back to the day he walked away. 16-year-old lungs yell as two intoxicated friends threaten to open up the door and jump for no reason that they could even comprehend, while my designated hands steered down the road. That night, they too tried to leave right in front of me, back to the day he walked away. 18-year-old body no longer seated in the courtroom beside my fifth half-assed foster care caseworker. The judge so relieved I made it roughly 6,570 days without a drop of liquor poisoning my spirit, like they so often see in the case of a human without a home. The day he walked away. 21-year-old ears heard the same old observation. You mean to tell me you can finally buy your own alcohol and you don't drink? That's crazy. I would laugh it off and let them keep their own socially constructed, colonized concepts while I withheld the tears and wondered what was really crazy. 7,665 sober indigenous days being reminded he walked away. 22-year-old res girl turned student in San Francisco, best city in the world. Bars on every street. Not much different from the res, not much different from my peers, always asking, why don't you drink? Always replying, it's just not for me. Walked away. Confident 23-year-old lips currently 8,395 days without kissing the rim of a container occupied by toxic stereotypes of my indigenous people. But isn't there a correlation between natives and alcoholism? Yes, the correlation is that colonizing fathers walked in, then they colonized fathers who walked away from fathers, and their daughters now explain to every homeless spirit why she stays away from alcohol. So yes, I'm 27 now. I wrote that when I was 23, and it's important. It's a part of my story, and anytime that I'm out with a group and drinking is involved, and it is offered to me and I say that I don't drink, I get a lot of reactions, and my answer is dependent on the scenario. But I finally was like, okay, here's a poem, check it out, it'll tell you. um, and I laugh about it, but it's because it's just like, there's a lot of ways why we have to justify our actions, and I want all of us to know that stereotypes are also another tactic of our oppression and our assimilation and the dehumanizing of our people. And there's also always, always, always been the opposite. We have always stood strong, and I remember being young and being told at a youth conference, like, actually more people don't drink than people who do drink, but we're not told about that. And we're going through all of these identity things as young people, but I knew from the time that I was 5 years old that I was never going to drink alcohol because I learned from my surroundings, and I learned from my dad. As hard as it is to say, he has heard this poem, he has come to my shows, he has the album, and whatever that means for him has contributed to his healing. And so because of that, when he chose sobriety after so long and after so much trauma, I'm just like so proud of him. Like, and he'll just call and talk about it. And so he called me on his 30-day sobriety date last year, and I was like just so overwhelmed with emotion that I just like found a beat online and just started writing a verse. So I want to share that with you too, because I don't want to leave just this feeling of like all the really heavy things I've been through that determine like why I stay sober, but like also that the complexity of us as artists is we can pull from all of the things that inspire us. And so I also wrote this song as like a thank you to him and all parents out there who have chosen sobriety for themselves first and foremost, and then for their families and their loved ones. So this is also just a verse that I don't have anywhere. I just kind of did it, and there's no like release or anything. I don't own the rights to this beat. She's on YouTube. Step 1, recognize all that you've overcome. Though the damage may be done to your daughters and your sons, in the past you would run, but today you have won. You made the effort and the choice to readjust. For that we are proud. Through the worry and the doubt, you found a way. Day by day you made it out. Please remember that self-care you're allowed. Do this for you and you'll see you're surrounded. You'll rebound and continue on your journey. Keep one foot on the ground. You are worthy. Take time to rebuild trust. There's no hurry. We believe in your road to recovery. Know it's possible to earn forgiveness. Kids witness when you're honest and consistent. We see when you heal your mind, body, and spirit. Remember what we see you do, we inherit. And when we tell you how we feel, we hope you hear it. We know there's no such thing as a perfect parent. We rely on you for guidance and attention. Let's just practice patience, love, and awareness. So that one's for my dad. And you know, again, after I wrote it, I called him and was like, Dad, I wrote a verse for you. Can I share it? And he was like, sure.
Sure.
And sure. And he's like, wow, that was really nice. Thank you. So it's like, you know, just my way of like processing so much. I know we're a little bit over time, but
Are we? I don't even have a clock over here.
it's
What time is
1:03.
it, Calina?
It's 1:03.
Well,
But
thank
yes,
you.
my love goes out, you know, to everybody out there who's standing strong in this quarantine, no matter the temptations or, you know, maybe the triggers. Like we're really proud of you, and we hope that you just continue to take it 1 hour, 1 day at a time. And there's music out there for you too if you need that.
Yes. Thank you so much. And thank you again also to the Native Wellness Institute for creating this this power hour and inviting both of us on. There's so many good resources if you're tuning in for the first time. So definitely go to the Native Wellness Institute Facebook page. There's power hours every day at noon. So come back if this is your first time. We're happy to see you again if you've been every day or you know you've checked out a few before. And as always, I hope that everybody walks in health and walks in beauty, and that these songs and stories that have been shared has uplifted you in some way. So thank you. Thank you so much. We'll see ya. I hope Shailene turned that off.